Thank you, Mark. It's an honor to be here with the room full of such talented creatives and friends. So I want to start by taking a trip down memory lane. I want you to think for a second about what you used to do for fun as a child, how you used to play. I would take a guess and say that some of you maybe put on plays for your family, whilst others maybe wrote stories or illustrated them. Or you spent afternoons slaying dragons in your living room and building new worlds with your Lego. Whatever you did, you would get out of your own way and let your imagination run free. And it made you feel connected, energized, alive. You were in a state of creative flow. And today is a day for technical difficulties, I guess. As a child, I used to love play. I played in all sorts of ways, and I did all the above and more. And at school, very early on, I became particularly fond of art class. I was told by my art teacher that I was a creative, and between you and me, I think she might as well have told me that I had a superpower not many kids in class had. I don't know if you relate, but that made me feel like I was pretty special. And it was way cooler than being good at biology or math because of the reaction I would get. I'll explain what I mean by that. So my sister and I would come home from school, and being the good girls that we were, we would want to show off our latest accomplishments to our parents. So my sister would get out her A+ test in biology, hand it over, and this is the reaction she would get. She would get a pat in the head, and, "Well done, Carolina, you worked very hard for that, you deserve it." Whereas I would whip out my art project, hand it to them, and I got this. "Oh, wow, it looks beautiful. John, come and see this. We should hang it up in the hall, or maybe here in the living room next to her other paintings." A little bit dramatic there. That's my theater background coming out. And no, my parents did not speak to us in a British accent. I am Portuguese, so are they. But do you see the difference in the reaction and how that made me feel like, ooh, this is really cool to be a creative because we get this visceral reaction. But when I got to university in London and I started to really study creativity, to really understand it, that's when I realized that I had been tricked. I'm just going to have to stand over here. I had been tricked. Understanding creativity now, I feel that when I was told in art class that I was a creative, that wasn't actually the case, and I'll show you why. This is a drawing that I did at 5 years of age of a house, and it's the sort of drawing that I would do that then my teacher would say, "Oh, Joanna, that's very creative." Okay, great. But this is not a creative house. Okay, bear in mind, I was 5, but this is not what a creative house looks like. I mean, this is what a creative house looks like. Or this one, I used to live in Holland, and I used to drive past these, and I was like, what the hell? They're like cubes on an angle. Or this one, made with plane wings. This is from one of my favorite Netflix shows, Extraordinary Homes. Anyone here watch that? It's good, right? So this is what a creative house looked like, not this. So why was I being rewarded here? Was it for conforming? Was it for playing by the rules, doing what was expected of me? Was it for drawing with quite straight lines, coloring inside the lines and not getting pen all over my uniform? Maybe that's what I was being rewarded for there. But it wasn't necessarily creative. My sister, on the other hand, I wish I had found this drawing. It was so cool. I remember she drew a house on a tree with a slide that would take you down to the ground level. And I remember she was told she was wrong. That's not a house. But we don't even have to leave the country to see that we do have tree houses, and there are buildings with slides. So why was she told she was wrong? This is what I want us to think about here, because if I'm going to tell you what I'm passionate about, how to unlock your creativity, we have to really understand it and define it. So, what is creativity really? Is it something you're born with? Is it a talent? Is it a skill or an ability? Can it be trained? Are only artists creative? Or is everyone creative? And where else is creativity present? If we look at Oxford's definition of creativity, it is the use of imagination or original ideas to create something. But here's where I think we get it wrong. It's this part, to create something, because we have been associating it with the creation of a painting, a song, a dance. But I like to think of it as creating a new solution to a problem. And so here's what I believe, and I'm letting you know this so that we can be on the same page for the rest of the presentation. I believe that creativity is the skill we use to come up with solutions to problems. I believe that it can be trained, and I believe that everyone is creative. Even the developers and the project managers in the room, because I know there are some of you here. So what I want to do, and I want to do this with you guys, I want to do a little creativity test. This is something that I learned in university. It was a test that they made us do, and it's to test how creative you are. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up with as many uses as we can for an object. So I did this experiment myself before, when preparing for this, and I was in the office and I grabbed an espresso cup that was what was nearest to me, and I gave myself 1 minute on the clock. Now here's what I came up with. Heads up, they're not amazing. I had 1 minute. So I came up with a keychain. I don't know. You could tie it at the end of the string and you've got a pendant to hypnotize someone if that's your cup of tea. You could use it as an egg holder, if it would fit. You could put some soil in it, plant a seed, and then you've got a vase. Or, and this is a weird one, but it is what crossed my mind, it could be a really weird Barbie doll hat. The point is, you don't want to edit yourself. Just like I'm vulnerable enough to show you that I had that random idea. But the point of this exercise is just keep churning those ideas out. Let's see how many you can come up with in 1 minute. And so that you all feel safe, I'm not going to ask you to come up here and present them. I'm not going to ask you to share them with each other. Just keep them to yourself. Write them in your notebook if you've got one, or count them on your fingers. Just don't write them in your note app in your phone, because Instagram will suck you in, and then you're not going to get as many ideas. So I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock, and your object is a paperclip. Go. I'm going to tell you what the average is in a minute so you can compare yourself to it. You still have time to come up with one more. up if you came up with at least one idea. Okay, great. Phew. The hands slowly went up, so I was like, oh, come on, please, guys. Hands up, keep your hands up if you came up with 2. 3. Okay, so you're all average or above. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. I'm impressed. You win. And you, and you. And now I'm curious. Did any of you think of this, to use a paperclip to open the iPhone? Yeah? I'll get back to why I just asked you this. What about lockpicking? That tells me something about you guys. So let's look at what just happened. Let's look at the 4 stages of creativity. So first, we've got preparation. Preparation is when you gather all necessary information for the problem at hand, for your brief. And this is where you go and do your research. But for this particular exercise, you were already prepared. You all know what a paperclip is. You know its weight, you know what it looks like, the size, you know it's malleable. So you had enough information to start coming up with ideas. So that's preparation. Then we've got incubation. This is where I'm really praying this is gonna work. Incubation is my favorite. It's where you sit back, relax, and let your subconscious do the heavy lifting. This is when it would actually be a really good idea for you to go get a shower. Who here has had great ideas in the shower? Pretty cool, right? I would actually love to build in showers into our studio. They could be like the idea generation showers. That'd be so cool. But there is actually a scientific explanation for why this is. When you're in a shower, your brain is in an alpha state. So that's your brainwave's frequency. And when you're in an alpha state, that's when it's your most optimal brainwave for idea generation. And when you're in the shower or driving or doing things that already come effortlessly to you, this is when you're most likely to generate ideas. So what your brain is actually doing is it's going through all your long-term memory and cross-referencing that with the research you've just done, so that's in your short-term memory, and it's going to see what links are useful, which ones make sense, which ones could generate an idea from that, and then it brings it to the forefront of your mind, and that's when you are meant to ding. That's when you have your eureka moment. So it's your subconscious that did the work. It feels pretty effortless, but it was your brain hard at work in the back end. And so that's elimination. And the final stage, so as for this exercise, incubation, you only had 1 minute. And as far as I know, no one went to take a shower. No one sat here meditating. So it doesn't mean that you can't have ideas when you're not in a relaxed state, but it is optimal, especially like the big problems, the big briefs. And after illumination, we've got verification. So verification is where you would then test out, flush out your ideas, and really switch from the alpha brainwave to the beta brainwave, where you're now focused and seeing, does this actually work? Because, for example, my Barbie doll hat, this is where I would be like, nope, not good one, in the trash. Here's one thing that I would like to leave with you, though, and this is something we're personally working on. I'm personally working on, and I want to keep working on this with my team, which is to not rush to the verification too soon. You want to stay in the idea generation phase as long as possible. And I know with client projects, we don't always have all the time in the world. But why is this? Well, if you think of your brain going through all your long-term memories. It's going to go through the ones that are at the surface level first. That's why many of you came up with this use, to use a paperclip to open the SIM card thingy. But now imagine if you had spent more and more time. Then your brain is sort of sorting through the short-term information and getting to the more long-term and maybe, hopefully, finding some really good gems. Believe it or not, at university, we had to do the object exercise for 90 minutes. It was excruciating. By minute 5, I thought I was done. I came up with all the ideas that were possible. But then by minute 30, I had another one. And then by minute 45, I'm like, oh, I can still come up with them. So if I can leave you with one thing today, let's try and stay in the idea generation longer and not edit ourselves. So those are the 4 stages of creativity. That's the process your brain just went through. And I feel like I threw a lot at you just now. So quick recap. Hopefully we're all on the same page. We're all creative. Creativity is the skill that we use for problem solving. You don't want to edit in idea generation mode. This is because your brain likes to be right. And so if you come up with an idea and you tell it immediately that it's wrong, your brain's sort of going to sit back and be like, well, I'm going to play it safe now. I'm not going to give you any more ideas because you clearly don't like them. So you don't want to edit in idea generation mode. And then there are 4 stages of creativity: preparation, where you gather your research; incubation, where your brain does all the work in the subconscious; illumination, your eureka moment; and verification. We know we want to be in a relaxed state for optimal idea generation. And the more effort and time we spend in idea generation, the better the ideas. So now let's go into the fun stuff. Like, how can we take all this information I just threw at you and incorporate it in our routine, in our work, in our daily lives? And for that, I've devised a model that I call the Wheel of Creativity. So first, we've got fuel. And what do I mean by fuel? Well, if you think of the incubation phase, where your brain's going through your long-term memories and seeing if it can create a good connection with your short-term memories, then let me ask you this. How often are you filling up your long-term memory tank? How often are you filling up your tank with good quality information? Good thing you're all here, though, because that means you're doing it. In the book The Artist's Way, which is a book about discovering your creative self, Julia Cameron suggests that you take yourself on an artist date at least once a week. And this could be an hour to a whole afternoon where you take yourself out to somewhere where you're going to get inspired and where you're going to absorb new information. And we live in a beautiful city, so, I mean, so many ideas for this part. I'll just leave you with a couple. You can go do a free walking tour. You can go to a museum you haven't been to, and it doesn't have to be related to what you do, because you never know what sort of briefs you're going to get and the connection your brain is going to have to make. You can try a class. Go try cooking or dance, or you can listen to an album from beginning to end without doing anything else. I mean, that's so rare these days. When was the last time you really absorbed a song and really took it in and noticed all the different things happening there? Then we've got focus and flow, and I've already covered the importance of alternating between these 2 states. So here is where I ask you, when was the last time you went for a long walk? And if we look at the great minds in history, they all used, well, that's an overstatement, but a lot of them went walking to sort of process information and to work on the problems they were solving. And these are people like Albert Einstein, Aristotle, Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, Steve Jobs. Whoa. And so what are some ideas that we can incorporate into our daily lives to have more flow? Well, if you can, it'd be really cool if you could go walking for 1 hour every week. You could give meditation a try, maybe, if you're interested. Spending more time in nature is really good. And if you're here thinking, oh, Joanna, really, ain't nobody got time for that these days, then I've got one for you. You can make the most of your mundane tasks and use them as a great chance to daydream. So next time you're washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, ironing your clothes, just let your mind wander. But just as important as time for flow state, time for our brain to get into a alpha wave, the quality of our focus time is also really important. And this is no surprise, but in today's world, that has become really, really difficult. Not only through all your notifications on your phone, but now laptops have notifications. You've got Slack that you can't really switch off because you need to talk to the team. And then offices are open plan, so you can hear when other people are having conversations, and that distracts you because you're like, oh, what are they saying? I want to hear. At least that's what I do. So when I was looking into this, I came across this book, which is phenomenal, Deep Work by Cal Newport, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. And it is a really great read for you to understand how impactful great quality focused time can be. And here are some ideas that I've implemented that I love. I now have to do them every day, not all the time, but I try and put my phone on airplane mode. So you could do that. You could turn off all your notifications. There are some really great playlists on Spotify for focus. And it's even better if you could use them with noise canceling headphones, yes. And if you think, again, Joanna, you're being a little optimistic, this is really unrealistic for me, then just give yourself 1 hour. 1 hour where you shut off all notifications, you tell your peers, like, I need this 1 hour to focus. It's not much to ask, everyone else will understand, but you'll really be surprised as how much you'll accomplish in that 1 hour. You'll also be surprised as how much you fidget and want to grab your phone. That really scared me. And then you can read the book. Okay, so we've got fuel, we've got focus and flow, and then we've got fellows and friends. When I quit my agency job and became a freelancer, I realized very quickly that it wasn't for me. I felt very lonely, and I wanted to bounce ideas off other people. So that was one of the reasons why my husband and I started the team, GIF Design Studios. It's GIF, by the way, yes. And if anyone's curious, it's my last name and my husband's last name, Galvão e Freitas, and it just stuck. And in all of your careers, you will have to collaborate with someone. Even if you're a freelancer, most likely you will. So let's optimize that too. And I'm going to show you something that I learned in America that we now use in our meetings, and I think it's really cool. But before that, can anyone shout out if you know where this is from? Shout it out. Saturday Night Live. Yeah, cool. So Saturday Night Live is improvisational theater, for those of you who don't watch it. So the actors will get given characters and costumes and get given a scene, and then they're just told to act it. And they just build off each other. So this is Amy Poehler, this is Tina Fey. Imagine this. Imagine Tina starts the scene, and she goes to Amy, "Hey, brother, haven't seen you in a long time." And then imagine Amy replies with, "I'm not a man, and I don't know you from anywhere." What does Tina do then? it just breaks the flow of the scene. It doesn't work. So in improv, they've got this rule, which I've now adopted, called yes and. You need to agree, and you need to contribute. And this is a really cool little, well, 2 words really, that you can use in your brainstorming meetings. Because think about the last time you had a brainstorming meeting and you put forward an idea and someone said, great idea, but maybe not for this project, right? It doesn't really want to make you want to give more ideas. So this is a good one, and we tested it out at GIF, and I loved the results because I was just encouraging the whole team to throw in the good, the bad, the terrible ideas, and we all had to say yes and try and build on them and try and create something better from it. And by the end of it, we had more logo designs than we actually needed, and then it became difficult to pick. We've also adopted Fresh Eyes from Vern Ho. Is Tiago Pedras here? No. Tiago Pedras brought Vern Ho here 2 years ago. He's the creative director of Shopify, and really cool guy. You should follow him on Medium. He writes beautiful articles, and he taught us about this thing called Fresh Eyes, which is where when you've been working on a project for a long time, you bring someone new who doesn't know anything about this project, and it gives their perspective. And that really helps unlock the creative process as well. So, some ideas for collaborating better. Incorporate yes and in brainstorming meetings. Encourage the sharing of bad ideas in idea generation mode. And bring peers to cast some fresh eyes on your work. So that's the wheel. But creativity is like a muscle, so we need to add frequency to it. We want to keep the wheel spinning. It's like going to the gym. And remember what I said about the more effort you put in, the better the ideas are going to get. So this is a good example of someone that really wanted to flex her creativity muscle. Sabrina Smelko did this as a side project, 365 days of type. You also have this really cool one I love. We used to participate in these when I was in an agency in London. And I'll show you an example of one yesterday. You can follow them on Twitter. They announce 1-minute briefs every day. So this was yesterday's: advertised print, delivered tomorrow by Solo Press. And these were the results people sent in. Crop marks, bleed, no, speed required, speedy next day delivery. I need them on my desk tomorrow morning, said every manager ever. Solo Press, next day on your desk. Or the winner, which I loved, which is really timely. Did everyone see what Banksy did? Yeah? Need another one by tomorrow? So ideas for frequency. Take on a side project where you can flex that creativity muscle. Participate in creativity challenges, like the 1-minute brief. Or just think of other ways where you can be more creative in your work, on your methodology, or in your life. And then at the center, if you think of it like an engine that is running, you need to fine-tune it. And I don't know about you, but if there's anything that can make these connections that happen in my brain faster, I want to know about it. And this one, I'm not going to get into it a lot because I've just started researching this, but I will leave you with this book, Headstrong, the bulletproof plan to activate untapped brain energy to work smarter and think faster. And Dave goes into how food affects how fast our synapses go and how you can train your brain, etc. Really interesting read. So, I hope that I've left you with some ideas on how you can be more creative in your life. and I hope that you are at least taking one of them on board. And if you are, what I would love you to do, because I'm really passionate about this, and I'm also working on this with the team, but just message me. Message me like, hey, I tried that, and this is what I created. Hey, that was really cool, and this is what I did. I would love, love, love to know. And with that, I thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.